Hey, it's good to see all of you all out there. Thank you for tuning in with us here on Club Deportes TV en Inglés. Episode number 6 coming right to you. Wherever you may be watching, we want to thank you again for joining with us. Before we get into this week, of course, I got to thank everybody that stopped by last week. Ben Stahl of Austin Anthem, Eric Morales of We Are Austin TV, and of course my good friend Ann Wagner of the Wagner Wire on 104.9 The Horn. This week, though, we have a lot to talk about. Of course, we're going to get into Austin FC, how they did on the road against Sporting KC. We'll preview their matchup coming up with, I think you might know this guy, Chicharito and LA Galaxy. That'll be happening in a little bit coming up in the show. We're also going to take you across the pond. We're going to talk a little bit about Manchester City, Premier League, as well as the La Liga, Serie A, and of course what's also going on in Champions League. So we have a lot that we have to cover. Of course, we have a little news of a redesign that has some people upset. We'll get into that in a little while. And of course, you just know it, especially with the playoffs coming up and the new play-in for the NBA. We're going to be talking some basketball here on Club Deportes for the first time. Got a special guest coming in for that one, and I hope you stick around for that later on in the show. But before we get into the basketball talk, we're going to start off with our soccer talk. And joining me here in studio, and I'm glad to have him along for the ride, my good friend Jorge Chavez from the Austin Anthem. And Jorge, it's good to have you along, my friend.
It's good to be here, man.
Well, Jorge, so let's not waste too much time. Let's kind of just jump into it. There's some news that has broken here in the ATX.
Mm-hmm.
Cap Metro finally giving us an idea of how the lines are going to be lined up for the upcoming game days. I know a lot of people in Leander not very happy, though, considering how late those trains, well, I'd rather say how those trains won't be running late.
Yeah.
And I think there's a little issue, because I retweeted this on my Twitter at the Smash Simmons, but Cap Metro said no alcohol allowed, whether it was closed, and especially if it's open.
Yes, that's something that it's kind of general plan that they always have, that they in any, because it's a city entity, so I understand that they wouldn't, aren't allowed to have alcoholic beverages, so
I'm sure that it's the liability insurance purposes, just making sure that that's something that they don't need to deal with. I don't blame them. But that does tell the viewers out there, like, hey, if you're planning to go watch an Austin FC event, realize if you live north, like in the Leander area, you might not have a ride back, because right now they haven't said anything about that. And you can't bring any alcohol with you. So bring enough cash, because there's plenty of breweries abound. There's bars, obviously the Domain and everything else.
Yes.
But for, to try to kind of pregame yourself, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, if any of us have taken the train during South by Southwest or ACL, it's basically the same thing. I remember using that train when I went to ACL a couple times, and it's packed. It is really filled to the brim, and obviously they didn't allow any drinks in there, so you kind of have to kind of plan your evening so that you are somewhat sober when you get to the bus or the train.
I mean, there's a lot of people that work Uber and Lyft that are probably going to be making a good amount of money. Yeah, going to be
some good amount. And additionally, I did want to mention that there was some confusion, because it seemed that they were maybe a little bit premature in their release of the schedule, because they did clarify, because some of the scheduling were saying that the last trains, especially on weekdays, the last trains were at 8 p.m.
Exactly.
And that's when the game starts, pretty much.
Exactly.
So they did clarify. I'm assuming they're going to update the schedule, but they did put out a tweet, Cap Metro, that they are going to run buses and trains 2 hours after the game.
Yeah, but how many?
Exactly. And to where?
Exactly.
So like you just mentioned, because there's going to be a lot of people in Leander that need to schedule their way somehow. And
we kind of knew this was going to be an issue going into it. And of course, being on the honeymoon phase, we'll worry about that later. We'll worry about it later. But guess what? Now we're here.
It's later. Yes.
And given the news from the CDC, we're saying, like, if you get vaccinated fully, that more than likely you'll be able to go to an indoor or outdoor events without a mask. That's saying that if it seems like we're getting closer to having a full stadium.
Yes.
So now they had a little bit of a benefit where, hey, it's not going to be packed. They can kind of work on the traffic issue later. And don't forget that crossover between I-35 and 183 going northbound has now been shut down. So that takes away an avenue to get to the stadium. So they're going to have a lot of trouble trying to figure out how the traffic is going to work. And we look forward to it here on Club Deportes en Inglés to see how Austin FC and Cap Metro will work together to figure out the impending traffic situation. Because if you thought Evil Mopac was already evil, it's going to get worse. And I'm just telling you straight up. Yeah. Besides that, Gold Cup is also going to be coming to the ATX. And most importantly, we're hosting a semifinal. That means there is a good possibility of either seeing Ep.6 or possibly the United States men's national team vie for a title for the Gold Cup.
Yes. It's very interesting because obviously the women's game is a friendly, so it's important because it's going to be historic, the first game we actually see at Q2 Stadium. But having semifinals for CONCACAF Gold Cup, that's a huge deal. And it'll be one thing interesting because obviously they have to calculate the size of the stadium. So if Mexico somehow gets to those semifinals and we play them and they play there, oh man.
Sheesh. Do we have enough seats for that?
We do not.
Because last time I went to a friendly between Mexico and the United States, and it was at the Alamo Dome. And
I went to the same game.
Yeah, awesome atmosphere. But we know how well Pancho Villa Army does, how well the Mexican fans travel, and how they like to pretty much dominate any South venue between California, Texas, and Florida, anywhere in the South when it comes to Ep.6 playing the United States. I'm thinking it's going to be a rowdy crowd regardless of who gets to the semifinal. This is huge for the city of Austin. And I think those people that doubted soccer here in the ATX, when it comes to big-time national team games, USWNT coming into town, the world champs, as well as having the men's national team, I think it really makes you seem like, hey, this is a really big deal. This soccer stadium, this team, I didn't realize it was going to lead to things that quickly, but now you're already seeing it pay off.
Right, yeah. It is, and the reason why they came is because they see the results. I mean, a couple years back when the Women's World Cup was going on in the final, Austin FC was the biggest market in the nation watching that game, and there were plenty of watch parties around the city. Austin Anthem, we had a watch party at Easy Tiger, and it was packed to the brim. And we were told,
is that the old school Easy Tiger downtown?
The one on the link.
Okay.
At the link.
That one's still there.
Yeah, that one's still there.
That's like the main one now.
That's the main one now, and so it was packed. And they told us that evening or that day they made the most sales of the whole year.
Wow.
So
it's the real deal.
It's a real deal.
We've been telling people for years.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
Austin was ready for a soccer team. We said it was a soccer city, and now you're seeing it day in and day out. So that kind of gives you an idea of what's going to be happening here in the ATX when it comes to game day experiences and those games that you'll be seeing on match day. But let's get into what happened last Mother's Day weekend. Now, for some moms, it was a good day, but for Austin moms, it was not. It started promising. John Gallagher making a great finish off of a beautiful delivery from Stroud, but you see it there on the screen. It's a 2-1 loss. Obviously, the big thing, Alex Ring getting the red card in the 67th minute. You see that beautiful pass by Stroud, though. That is world class. That really made me think that, hey, this team on another level. We are ready to take it. But then after that, it looked like Josh Wolf kind of went the way of Mourinho.
Yeah.
And it was just like,
He seemed to have parked the bus, and it didn't seem that it was necessary at the time because I think they were having good runs and they played more of a defensive game, but I didn't think it was necessary. But at the same time, they had their chances. Pochettino banged a shot off the post.
Yeah, but chances aren't the same as conversions, as you saw right there.
Right.
You saw the goal come in. That should have never happened.
No.
And I know that we were down 11-10 at that point.
Right.
But, somebody let somebody go free in the box.
He was way too open. Yeah.
Exactly. That allowed it to tie it up. And I think you'll see it here in a little bit, but there's going to be a second goal scored by Sporting KC.
Right.
And here it comes. Right on the brink of death, and they win the game.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, and I want to know how you were, and I want to know how other fans in the ATX and around the world reacted to it, but I was pissed. I was so upset, and that makes me feel good because it makes me feel like a real fan. But it's like, how do you blow it at the very end? You should have came away with points. What do you think?
I agree. But at the same time, I've never been a fan of parking the bus, even if you're a man down, because most teams, I think, don't prepare for that, especially a new team like expansion team like Austin FC, where they have guys that haven't played that much with each other, more than a month. So, they're...
I'm sorry, you were laughing because you saw the ring thing. And you're like,
the ring thing.
That had nothing to do with playing with each other. That was an over-aggressiveness that we weren't expecting.
Yeah, ring was super aggressive for some reason during this game.
Tell his mom something on Mother's Day?
I don't know. It's very uncharacteristic for him. It's his first red card in his career.
Yes.
So it's not like he's doing this regularly. But at the same time, you kind of pick your battles when for some reason he picked this game to be overly aggressive, and it obviously didn't help the team out, and it's not only going to help, it was bad for the game, it's going to be bad for the next game.
Now they said
that's the problem.
Yeah, now they said that he apologized to his teammates, and obviously that's important. He needs to make those apologies because, again, like Jorge just mentioned, these guys are all playing together for the first time. You need to establish that communication and that chemistry. However, the one thing, and despite being a man down, that it did point out, and we talked about it on this show previously, is how are Austin FC going to be able to play without Alex Ring available? Because he really is the guy, the fulcrum, the thing that makes everybody tick on that team. And as much as we like to talk about Pochettino, and as much as you want to talk about Redes coming on strong, and as much as you want to talk about Stroud being Stroud and now actually performing well, and as much as you want to talk about Gallagher being Gallagher, we still have a lot of flaws.
Right.
And in order for us to have any success coming up, and you saw the stats just moments ago. Can we see those stats again? Let me see those stats one more time. Just the possession, we usually do very well.
Yes.
We didn't do it in this game. Our pass accuracy was less. We didn't get any quarter kicks, and we were way too aggressive on the line. I don't understand what happened in that game, especially when we took the lead early.
Yeah, I think it just has to be really just give credit to Kansas City. I mean, it's a much better team than the other teams that we played. They were very, very aggressive from the beginning.
But they weren't even good coming into the game.
You
have Alan Pulido, right?
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about the Tejano guy. I'm thinking about the soccer guy.
Right?
But you have Pulido come in. This guy, he's supposed to be good?
Right.
Is Pulido supposed to be good? You tell me, because from what I saw, that guy doesn't look like a designated player. And it wasn't him who beat us. It was the other guys. Yeah. It was set piece losses. It was because of corner kicks that Austin FC lost. It wasn't because of Pulido. It wasn't because Sporting KC is this miraculous team. No, they shot themselves in the foot. I'm upset. You should be upset. And how are you feeling about this?
I'm upset more a little bit because of yesterday's game on Wednesday when they lost to the Houston Dynamo.
Okay.
So, you don't want to compare one team's performance from one week to the next. But the performance that Houston Dynamo was able to perform against Kansas City, that makes this loss worse.
It seems that the Dynamo have performed better against every team that Austin FC has faced previously. Yes. And that goes for LAFC, and that does go for the aforementioned team that we had just talked about.
Right, yeah.
So we kind of have an idea of how the things went. It wasn't a great game. That is admitted. We do have a few bright spots, but I think you'll agree. Kolmanich played all right. Romania, I think he's the unsung hero in the back line. He always plays big for us.
Right.
But there's still a lot of questions up front. Like, one, why are we trying to call Pochettino Toto? I get his name is Tomas Pochettino, but it just doesn't sound good, y'all. I'm sorry. Toto is not working for me. Let's just call him Poch. There's not a lot of Spurs fans out there that follow Austin FC, so it's okay. We can just call him Poch.
Because if I could interject, that's what the players call him.
Toto?
Poche.
Poche, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's just call him that, y'all. It's way easier that way.
Yeah, exactly. So
okay. I don't know about that. I'm a fan of Poch.
I'm more of a fan of Poch because of Toto, but That's another
Yeah,
issue that we might talk about that a little later about that. But
I'm surprised he just didn't go with like the in between and call him Punch, from Chips.
Yeah, he's in the United States now. Might as well throw in an American nickname for him.
Yeah, go full Anglicization on
sure,
the
absolutely.
nickname, right? But okay, so they have a game coming up with the LA Galaxy, and this guy coming up right here, I think you might know about him. I think his name is Chicharito. And yes, he is back, my friends. He has been the 2-time player of the week. He already leads MLS in goals scored. And while he's been a little hit or miss, it's definitely been more hits than miss. Are you concerned about this Austin FC team without Alex Ring available to take on the LA Galaxy on the road against a hot Chicharito who's having a rebound year right now?
I think they do, and I'll tell you why. I'm not convinced on Chicharito's
You're not
consistency. On his consistency.
He scored more goals already this year than he scored all of last year.
But look at his game before this previous one. He disappeared. He did not play at all. And so it happened. So he's and he wasn't really a threat even, but in the El Tráfico he was. So it depends on which version of Chicharito we get.
And that's what I'm thinking. It seems that Chicharito, a guy who has been on the World Cup stage, who's played for some of the biggest teams in Europe, like Manchester United.
Right.
As much as I don't care for him as a United States fan,
Agreed.
Because,
I feel the same way.
How it goes between L3 and the Stars and Stripes.
Correct.
But I have to give credit where credit is due. The guy's been on a tear, and when he's on fire, there's no other player besides maybe Carlos Vela who is just as good as Chicharito in this league. Mm-hmm. Now, should he be playing better? Yes, I think Chicharito should be far and above the best player for what he gets paid for the team he's on, and for what he's able to do. But maybe he's getting a little bit older. Maybe he's losing a step. Okay. But I'm still concerned that he might be the focal point that Austin won't be able to stop.
Before we go, let's have the press conference.
All right. So we have a press conference, a little clip that we can show everybody out there. You'll get to hear it too, my friend. So let's take a look at that press conference as Austin FC gets ready to take on LA Galaxy.
You obviously came over to Austin FC as a loan from another Columbus SC. Do you guys, does the staff from Columbus keep kind of in touch with you or with the coaching staff to see your progress? Because it's pretty rare to see something like an arrangement like this within the league. It's usually, with other players, with other leagues, but not within the league. So how does that kind of help you prepare for your season-long aspirations and daily?
Yeah, as far as communication, I don't know if that's something that the head coaches communicate or GM, whatever. I'm not sure about that. I know Pat Onstad's been in contact, which is good, and he's always checking up on me, and he's been good. But as far as that, I'm staying focused. I'm just every day just working with Austin, and this is my team right now. So that's what I'm going to do, is keep working and improving and hopefully helping the team win.
Great, thank you.
Your father played with Galaxy a couple of years. I believe you leave all that moment. Do you have any special feeling on the Saturday's game?
I think so. Yeah, just going to that stadium for 3.5 years and seeing my dad win MLS Cup in the stadium. It will be a special moment. I'm excited. I haven't been back there in I think 10 plus years. So going out there it's going to be really special for me. Yeah.
When you were there with your father, do you dream to be there playing one time?
Yeah, of course. Like going out, being a little kid, running after the win, just running on the field, kicking the ball. Of course, yeah, that's always been a dream. The supporters there has always been great. So, yeah, it's always been a dream.
And you heard from my colleagues there, Jorge Utilralde, and
some guy.
He had glasses on. Is that like your evil twin or something that I don't know about?
No, that's my smart look. When I put the glasses, I look more
like Clark Kent style.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. That's
okay.
That's exactly the reason.
Okay.
But
so you're getting a chance to talk with Berhalter's kid, an ex-USMT guy. This obviously it's very promising for the young Berhalter, and a little odd because getting an opportunity to go on loan,
right,
which doesn't happen often in MLS.
Not between MLS teams. I mean, usually when an MLS team initiates a loan, it's either from a club outside of MLS
Like
or
Austin
from
FC.
or USL, La Liga, Liga MX, so that kind of thing, but not intra-league. So that tells me three things. Columbus is very highly, regards him very highly.
Yep.
Austin FC regards him very highly. And he has a bright future. So because if he have two teams kind of invested in him at this level, willing to, because of the history of the two teams involved, he must be a pretty special player.
You know, you talk about that history between Austin FC and the Columbus Crew. And,
Right.
and no doubt, been covering this story since the get-go. And let me tell you all, because I still see it on Twitter and social media, there's a lot of beef. I'm talking beefy beef between the people of Columbus and the people of Austin. And I know some of my writer friends still get harassed by some of the Crew people.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I think after you saw what happened at Sporting KC, I know some of the guys from Mls Redesign or Austin Anthem, they had a banner swiped. You want to turn a negative into a positive? Welcome to the league. We finally belong, right? People hate us. You knew that was going to happen. But there is a little karma for us if you're an Austin FC fan, because while they saved the Crew, and you can get a good look here of some of those designs, they weren't really able to save the Crew in the end. Let's go ahead and pull that up. As you see some of these redesigns, but the most important one here is MLS. I'm just going to say, I think they have just done wrong with the redesigns, including their original logo to the new one. But for the teams that had redesigns this year, what are they thinking? Like, seriously, this Columbus thing with the little triangle in the bottom,
Right.
like, I feel bad for them, and I kind of don't feel bad for how they treat us, but in the sense where they worked so hard to save the Crew.
Right.
And they did. They had one of the best crests in the league. And now the whole new ownership just scrapped all that history, an original 1996 team, two-time MLS champions, and that's all gone to the wayside.
Yeah, I think the irony here is that a lot of people got mad that the brand got redesigned, and the logo, if you see in your graphics,
There's the history right there.
Interesting about the middle one,
Yeah.
the one that everybody loves now.
Yes.
Guess who initiated that crest?
Who?
Anthony Precourt.
There you go.
And you know what he did? He actually talked to fans how to redesign this thing, which is something that the new owners of Columbus SC
Yeah. Jimmy Haslam.
totally did not do, and they really underestimated the response that they were going to get.
But it's not the only team. Can we pull up that redesign one more time, the MLS redesign graphic with all four? Let's see that. But
Yeah.
all these teams did that.
Right.
The Dynamo did. I have a friend that has a Houston Dynamo tattoo on his chest.
Right.
He was upset that they changed the logo. Yes. And now they changed the logo. I'm not sure if he's going to get the updated one or not, but that happened. I mean, Impact, a
Right.
terrific name for Montreal.
Now
Club de Foot.
Club de Foot.
I mean, I get the logo, probably the nicest redesign, but
Right.
I feel unnecessary because the Impact brand was so well known.
Right.
And then the abomination of whatever Chicago FC tried to do, which they're trying to fix now.
Right, and so Chicago's going to go through two redesigns in two consecutive years.
That's awful.
And that, I'm not sure what they're trying to achieve. When I saw I guess you'd call press release about about Columbus SC, is
Yeah,
that
because they're not the Crew no more.
It's not the Crew anymore, but it is the Crew.
They want the fans to keep on calling it the Crew,
Yes.
like how we call Austin FC El Tree.
Right, and they tried to explain it in this way, that if you look at a team like CF Monterrey, which from the Liga MX, that the Rayados is their nickname.
Yeah.
And it doesn't appear in anything else officially for the team. It's just called CF Monterrey. And they wanted to kind of do the same thing, is that have them as their nickname, because they wanted to appeal to the global market.
How many things do we want to steal from other places?
Exactly,
Because now you're just hoping.
Yeah, now you're just hoping. I mean, I still don't
fans
understand.
get it.
But which fans? Do they want to really attract global attention to their team?
But you don't need it.
You don't need it. You have a hardened, good fan base in Columbus already. Please them. They're the ones that are going to fill your stadium.
Yeah, they're going to buy your tickets.
You're not going to have people from across Europe or Latin America landing in Columbus SC games.
Unless you're Austin FC.
Unless you're Austin FC,
because you're the hottest brand going.
Then you're going to attract the attention. So it's very confusing. Fans in Columbus don't understand it. Fans across MLS don't understand
Bring back the camera. Bring it back, because I got to tell you right now, everybody, I don't know what Jorge thinking so far, but I'll tell you straight up, it's a big thumbs down. That redesign, awful, awful stuff.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and move on. We got a lot of stuff to talk about actually, one more thing here in Austin. The Austin Bold, they're actually going to kick off their season this coming weekend. It's going to start on Saturday, and you get a good look at the first part of their season. They're going to be on the road against New Mexico United, one of the more popular teams in the USL Championship Division. And then they'll go against Real Monarchs, so they'll be in Utah, and then they'll play Real Monarchs to open up the season on a Wednesday, and then Sunday at home against Tacoma, and then the match that you're looking forward to, Jorge, June 3rd against El Paso Locomotive.
Yes. That's my team, El Paso Locomotive.
So I think that's a real interesting conversation to have before we actually move on to the European talk. It's just like, as a fan, how are you going to go about having two top-tier teams in the city within the Austin city limits, so to speak?
Well, I mean, obviously it's going to be a big change for Austin Bold to have to now compete with not only it's not even arguably, it's the most popular team in Austin, in Texas, and in MLS. I mean, if you look at the schedule, they just recently announced a schedule change that they're going to move one game from Saturday to Sunday because they're going to show it nationally. This game against Galaxy is going to be a national game. From what I understand, Austin FC is going to have 12 nationally televised games.
Well, the ratings are there.
And so the ratings are there. The attention is there. They're going to. I mean, it's an MLS move that they want to promote.
But we can see that. But like we already see that both these teams are going to be playing on the same Saturday.
Yeah.
We'll get to see Austin FC on national televised game. That's what scares me, because Chicharito usually plays well on national TV.
Yes.
And then we have a chance to see the Austin Bowl on ESPN Plus that evening. And I don't know how many fans are going to really put the energy in to do both. I don't know how many fans are still bitter about the confrontations before the team arrived and have already picked sides, because there's some people that are not going to go north, and there's going to be some people that don't go south.
Right.
And I'm just like, can we all just get along?
I mean, I look at it this way. I mean, there's plenty of soccer fans all over Central Texas. So there's plenty of fans that are in that area, in the Del Valle area, and that are not going to be able to attend Austin FC games. There's a 18,000 person wait list. Something
like that. And parking's already an issue.
Parking's already an issue we just discussed. So you don't have those issues at Coda because there's plenty of parking. And to be honest, Coach Serrano, he puts a good product out there.
Oh, he's an excellent coach.
They play very well. It's just.
Think about the history. I mean, the first year they make the playoffs. First year in existence, they make the playoffs, and they beat LA Galaxy at home to qualify for the playoffs. That was an outstanding atmosphere, and it really made you see, like, hey, this team is serious. They're trying to compete. Obviously, last year, it just seems like this is what happens with anything below MLS soccer in Austin, Texas. Something bad that's life-changing is going to happen. You had the floods, you had an owner move a team, and now you had the pandemic.
The pandemic.
Which nobody had expected. I know you didn't expect the pandemic, we didn't expect the pandemic, but Austin Bold and everybody else in USL, MLS, and all the other sports able to work through it. But it wasn't a good season for them last year. A lot of new players this year for Austin Bold, a lot of them on loan, some from MLS, like from the Earthquakes, but Coach Serrano, he has a couple of players held over from that first squad, but Restrepo, the goalkeeper, is retired already. Now he's coaching. So it's going to be a pretty new look squad, but we look forward to seeing how the Austin Bold does this year.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Like I said, if they put out a good product and people are starving for soccer, knowing that they can't be regulars for Austin FC games, Austin Bold FC is a good alternative. I mean, especially if it's close to where they actually live.
Well, now that I'm running out of little time, because we really, but there was so much soccer to talk about. Really quick in European soccer news, just because it's happened. Obviously, the Champions League, that's a big deal because it was originally going to be in Istanbul. Champions League final now being moved to the Estadio do... I had it before. Dragao, after I was pronouncing it.
Estadio do Dragao.
Yeah, Estadio do Dragao, which unfortunately City hasn't won at all this year, but you can see right here, my Manchester City has won the championship in the Premier League. So big thank you to Leicester City, if we can get that graphic. There you go. Leicester City, thank you for being Manchester United. That was a great gift. I appreciate it. But the Champions League winners, or hopefully soon to be Champions League winners. But, you know. Pep, is he really as good as everybody's saying? Because even I don't believe it sometimes, and that's because I'm a City fan.
Well, I mean, Manchester City has deep pockets. So if you're a good coach to good players, yeah, you're going to have success.
Maybe.
So, I mean.
Doesn't work for Koeman.
It doesn't work for Koeman.
Doesn't work for Mourinho.
It doesn't
always.
work for Mourinho. And so, you know, he's been able to have good teams. And, you know, he's got a good system. The players are buying into the system. There's a lot of mutual respect there. I don't hear too much grumblings about his coaching style. So, you know, it's a good partnership. And so.
It seems that when they made the move to get Pep Guardiola, it's besides the Champions League return, it has paid off. He has won multiple Premier League titles. He's won FA Cups, league titles. So, I mean, man's good. He's really good. And hopefully this is the time that they can put it together. Let's also talk about the champions of Italy, if we can get that graphic up. Inter Milan, they won the Scudetto. Yep. Who would have believed it? It's been like a decade since anybody else besides Juventus has won it. They have a great striker, apparently Lukaku, now that he left the Premier League. And they have the Argentine striker, Lautaro. Like, thank you, Martinez, right?
Yes.
Thank you. One of these days I'll get it. But it's an exciting team. I don't know how they're going to do in Champions League next year. They did okay this year. But how does that make you feel, Jorge, knowing that Ronaldo's getting a little older? You can't really pull Juve back from the brink anymore. That magic is starting to flee. And now we're starting to see the rise of Inter. Maybe AC might get themselves back into the title chase next year. But how's the Italian league shaping up in your eyes?
I think it's starting to look like Inter Milan's going to be a power to stay. They have a good team. Lukaku's playing exceptionally well.
Yeah.
He's super comfortable where he's at now.
Who would have thought that Conte would be the guy to get all this out of him?
Exactly. It was, you know, I feel good for them. I mean, I don't really have a stake in a team for Serie A. I just kind of follow it in general, but it's a feel-good story, to be honest. They played very, very well.
One more thing, the La Liga title chase.
Yes.
Now, that one has been tight. I know that we had a change. If we do have the graphic, let's put it up as it would give us an idea of where the numbers are. If we don't have it, it's okay. Let's see. We'll see. We got our top guys working on this one, y'all. So we'll see where we can see it. But the top, and talking about the top, Atleti is at the very top. They had a 4-point lead until today. I know Real was able to get a victory, so they're now Now, this is a little bit older. Real won today, so now they're above Barca, but they're still going to be a couple of points out away from Atleti Madrid. It really seems that this is Madrid's title to win, and you're looking at that 4 and 5 spot. Sevilla is right where they're supposed to be, but Real Sociedad with my boy David Silva, they might get some European play, but La Liga having a terrific finish, and Messi might not be raising a title at the end of this year in any competition.
He might not, and there's speculation that if that doesn't happen,
where does he go?
We have seen the last of Messi in Barcelona. So
you think so?
I firmly believe so. I think
going to City.
I think he's going to City. I think he's going to City because I think he understands where the attention is going, and the attention is going to MLS, and so. Obviously, there's a tie-in between Manchester City and NYCFC.
Yeah.
So I really see Messi, and it's been reported before, where you go to Manchester City, play a couple years, and then when he retires, and he's still going to be good, better than 90% of the players.
He's going to be better than most players
when he's 35 or 36. And play a couple years in MLS with NYCFC.
Let me ask you, ideally, as a soccer fan, because I know people that like MLS have different views on it.
Right.
But ideally, wouldn't it be the dream to have Ronaldo and Messi both play in the league at some point? Even if it's at the very tail end of their career, their star power alone would get eyes on the product.
Right. I mean, just look at what happened with Zlatan. He was only here for a couple of years, and he was able to lift Galaxy at a time when they weren't doing very well, and he kind of by himself lifted the attention, enough to get guys like Chicharito interested in playing for Galaxy. So
and not just like Zlatan just doing it for LAFC,
Right.
but what he was able to do for the league.
For the league, yeah.
Because everybody's like, oh, El Tráfico, ha ha ha. No, it was like, okay, we got to watch it now.
Yeah, especially, I mean, you could not dream it in a better way. His first game for MLS, he scores a stunner of a goal, and then he scores the game winner against El Tráfico. I mean, it was a one of the best MLS games I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And so I still watch the highlights every once in a while to remind me this really happened. So I could imagine. I can really imagine Messi playing for NYCFC and Ronaldo playing for Inter Miami.
I just don't know how successful Messi would be because he's dependent on other players to be good.
True.
If they can't find him or they don't know like the runs that Messi's going to make or how he's going to pass the ball, then you'll just see mass confusion. And that's a technical aspect, and that's something that the United States soccer programs have to work on, is that technical aspect of the game, or we'll never be able to match up. One final note in European soccer talk. Apparently, the rights of La Liga have changed hands over to ESPN, so I'm sure that means more ESPN Plus content in La Liga, as well as they already had the Serie A and MLS packages. So it might be wise time to invest that $5, but it does make me wonder what's going to happen to BN Sports, the original home of La Liga, and Roy Hudson, the man with the onion basket and all that other stuff, you know, all the great amplitudes and poetics versions of finishes and stuff. You know, we won't get to hear them on our airwaves anymore.
Yeah,
that's a little sad.
But at the same time, I mean, mentioning the TV rights, we're finally going to get actual TV rights to Argentine League.
Yeah.
With Paramount Plus, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a lot of soccer coming the United States way.
Yeah,
a lot of soccer.
And if you don't like MLS, you don't like La Liga, you don't like what's going on overseas, it doesn't matter. You're going to find something to watch. That is for sure. Well, I think that's going to do it for our soccer talk. I know we're getting one more guest on the line. Get ready because, my friends, I've been waiting for this for a little while. It's time to talk some basketball. You know that basketball. You should know that song. Go look at Curtis Blow. That guy, legend. These are the breaks. Good stuff. But I'm hoping my man Zay Collier can join us here on the line. Zay, good to see you.
What's up, Justin? How you doing, man?
Hey, man. I'm glad to have you along for the ride. Everybody, this is my good friend Isaiah Collier. You can hear him co-host with my dude Adam Wagner on the Wagner Wire on Sunday mornings. And, man, thank you for doing this again because I know you wake up early every morning during the week because you're the producer for Bucky and Aaron on the Horn. What does that start, like at 5 o'clock in the morning?
Man, I set my alarm for around 4:30, and I get to the station around 5. So yeah.
Oh, there's a 5 a.m. now.
Well, we start at 6, but you know, there's a lot of prep that goes into it. So
I know Aaron and Bucky don't make it easy on you. That's for sure. They're demanding.
Oh no, not at all. Not at all.
Well, I promise you, I'll be way less demanding than them. At least I hope so on this show. And I'm glad to have your insight. I know if anybody knows basketball, it is definitely you, Zay. So just in case everybody gets confused, I will be calling him Zay from now on. So Zay, it is that time everybody was thinking about. We saw it last year in the bubble, but it is the NBA play-in for the playoffs. Let me see if we can get that updated graphic so you can see it. Now, this is the old graphic. There will be hopefully an updated one that kind of gives us an idea of who is sitting where, and obviously those places are changing. But for those that don't understand how this play-in tournament is going to work, obviously seats 1 through 6, if you qualify 1 through 6, you qualify for the playoffs. If you are in the 7th or 8th spot, you are going to have to qualify due to a wild card in order to play in. And that's going to go for the 9th and 10th place teams as well. And we know that there is some really exciting possible matchups on the brink as we have a possibility of the LA Lakers and the Golden State Warriors meeting in a play-in round in order to make the playoffs. I mean, isn't this exactly what the NBA wanted? But how do you feel as a fan having two of the most premier superstars have to try to play to get into the playoffs? Kind of makes it seem like the regular season doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's been an interesting season, Justin, just because the bubble seems so recent. You know, it ended in October, and then the season started in December. So there really was a short window. So it seems like, you know, a lot of teams aren't really, invested in the regular season because they're trying to save their legs, like a Lakers, like a Nets, teams that have serious championship, aspirations.
Let me ask this. Would we have seen LeBron James come back sooner if the regular season mattered more?
Yeah, I think he would. And I think LeBron, he's kind of making a statement with, how the season's been drawn out. He's definitely voiced his opinion on how the season is way too sudden, especially for a championship team like the Lakers, who had the quickest short round of any championship team in any pro sport history. So LeBron, I think he's making a statement by sitting out games to where he probably would have came back if he had to, but I think he understands the big picture, and that's being ready for the postseason.
Yeah, all that talk about Mickey Mouse title on social media probably doesn't really bother LeBron all that much. But with the way that Steph Curry has been carrying the Warriors, I mean, when he gets hot, it just makes you think that we might be watching the playoffs without LeBron in it. And that's a real possibility.
Yeah, it's a real possibility, and the NBA would not like that. And if you're the Lakers right now, because they're sitting at the 7th spot, I wouldn't want to make the playoffs, straight up by being a 6 or a 5, because that's a tougher matchup, especially at the 6th spot. If anyone's playing the Los Angeles Clippers, no one wants that matchup. Not the Mavericks.
You talk about that? You're talking about nobody wants that matchup? I don't want that matchup. I'm a huge Dallas Mavericks fan. Huge. Yeah. And to have to go against Paul George and Kawhi Leonard in the first round after going through what has been a hellacious regular season on quick turnaround, I'm not ready for that. Say, I do have my friend Jorge Chavez alongside with me as well here, so I'm going to get some insight from him as well, too, as I bring you, as we continue this conversation full circle. But let me ask you, Jorge, real quick, since you're still here. Mm-hmm. What do you think about this play-in tournament? Does it kind of devalue the regular season, or are you cool with this in considering the fact that we might see LeBron and Steph battle it out to see who goes in the playoffs?
Well, it's a different dynamic. That's very definitely, and like Zay said, you get to see two teams that are normally in the top of the conference standings at the bottom of the standings, and with a chance of them missing the playoffs if things go awry here. But it takes into account, they've had injuries. Klay Thompson obviously hasn't been back yet for the Warriors yet, and he won't be until next season. So it gives them a little bit of an incentive to, at the end of the season, to still be able to play for something. I don't really see them going that far this year in the playoffs. The Clippers look really, really strong.
Why is everybody picking the Clippers?
I've become a fan of the Nets. I really like the way they're playing. In
Zay,
the
what do
East.
you say about the super team? Zay, you a fan of the super team? James Harden, Kevin Durant, Kyrie?
I mean, the super team has always been around, Justin. If you go back to the 80s with the Boston Celtics, they had about 4 Hall of Famers on that team with Dennis Johnson, Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish. You look at the Lakers back then, they had the same thing with James Worthy, Kareem, Magic. So there's always been super.
Wait. Don't leave out the 96 Bulls now.
Oh, yeah, exactly. The Bulls, Rodman, there's always been super teams, but at the end of the day, it used to be a little more organic. And now guys, making their own way, choosing their own path, which I'm for. You don't really see the, teams that are brought up from the draft and start from the bottom and build their team up.
Let's talk about the actual playoff picture. Now, I know I didn't get the viewings for you at the standings, but from what I know, Utah, the number 1 seed out west, there's a good chance they might have to play the Lakers in the opening round. I'm not sure if that's a great return on what has been a terrific year for Rudy Gobert, really leading the Jazz despite not having Spider along for the ride. The rest of the West, always compact. I'm looking forward to seeing what Damian Lillard can do. Luka Doncic, again, having that really tough matchup in the first round. I don't know too much about the East, though. I know the New York Knicks are in it, so everybody's really excited that Julius Randle has just had a tremendous season. And, of course, you have the Bucks, who are still one of the favorites, but are faltering defensively. Who really are you looking to watch during these playoffs, and who do you think should be at least reaching their respective conference finals?
I'm really looking for Milwaukee to get over the hump. You know, they've kind of fell short these last few years, and the question has always been, can Giannis bring his team to, hoist up the trophy at the end of the day? And with the addition of Drew Holiday, I think that's huge.
They needed that extra guard defender.
Oh man, Drew Holiday, I think, is the best defender in the league, especially at his position. So you need guys like that to go along with Chris Middleton, who now is, really the third option, which I think that's best for him. And, the Nets right now, they're really interesting because that big three with Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant, they haven't played together. Only 7 games, and that's not very many. And one thing about basketball, you have to have some type of chemistry and camaraderie no matter how good your players are. When you get to the playoffs, you want all those guys clicking. So
yeah, do you think the big question there for the Nets going to be like, who's going to take the last shot in the playoffs when it's on the line?
Well, you don't have to worry about James Harden because he's a willing passer. So it's between Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. And hopefully Kyrie Irving, saw what Russell Westbrook did in Oklahoma City and says, okay, maybe I should give it to this guy on my right who's a 7-foot scoring phenomenon, probably top 3 greatest scorer ever. Kevin Durant is the easy, choice for that. But one thing about the Nets, they got options, which that could make them very scary.
You have any opinions on how the East might play out here, George?
Like I said, I really do like the Nets precisely because what Isaiah was saying is that they have 3 guys that can really take that last shot. And so really, if they put their egos aside and go with the statistics, and go with Kevin Durant giving him the last shot because in my opinion, he's a purest scorer. But, Harden gets the most opportunities and is always seems to attract that extra foul when he does his shot. So, it's a good combination to have for those 3 guys. So I really looking forward to the Nets playoff run this year.
Well, I noticed that we talked about the Nets, we talked about the Bucks, but I swear the top seed in the East belongs to the 76ers.
Yeah, 76ers.
And Joel Embiid, arguably an MVP candidate, could possibly be MVP this year. You have Ben Simmons, who is like the Luka stopper. Every time Doncic has to play Ben Simmons, his defensive prowess really does shine. He's so quick for a 6'10" power forward/guard combo, Scottie Pippen style player. Do they finally have the pieces after trusting the process for so long to get where they want to go and get back to the finals for the first time since what, the 80s? Oh no, so 2001. My apologies.
Yeah, since that Allen Iverson year. And the Sixers are so interesting because at the end of the day, no matter how good they are during the regular season, playoff basketball is different. It's not as much of a fast break game as it is in the regular season. The game, slows down. It becomes a half-court game where you have to make really difficult shots, like tough mid-range shots, which Ben Simmons, this is kind of his Achilles heel, and that's where I'm kind of wary on the Sixers because if Ben Simmons can make that, take that next step, which he necessarily hasn't with, his 3-point shooting, I think that will always be a problem until they figure it out because he is too big of a player for them for him to be a liability. And at the end of the day, I think teams will focus on him and say, hey, we're not going to let Joel Embiid beat us. We're going to let Ben Simmons beat us, and we'll be good with those results.
That's what it seems like. But hey, let's give Ben Simmons where credit is due. He has already dipped into the Kardashian Jenner pool, so there's still some things promising. Maybe the basketball players tend to do better after they leave the Kardashian Jenner pool, like James Harden, like Chris Humphries.
Hold on, Justin. Is it the same if you're a Jenner and a Kardashian? Because you're tying in both together. I feel like the Jenner name's a little more clean. That's why Devin Booker.
Nah, man, she's using the Kardashian playbook. Even Jorge knows.
I know. I mean,
see?
They all have the same mom, so
yes.
It's
all the same. It's all the same family mom, and it's all the same playbook. She's just making her money and dating NBA basketball players who can't play offense. except for James Harden. Now, he was actually good. Talking about offense, though, I wanted to get everybody's opinion on this specific topic, and we have a graphic for this one. But my man, Russell Westbrook, all-time triple-doubles leader. Never thought I would see this happen in my lifetime because he started making the triple-doubles look easy, but I thought nobody would ever catch the big O in Oscar Robertson. But here we have it, and you see it right here. Triples-double leader for Russell Westbrook. 3 teams throughout the years, 13 seasons thus far. How is this guy playing at this level for so long? Is he like underappreciated at this point, or is he right where he needs to be? What says you? Whoever wants to take this one first. Zay?
Man, I think he's underappreciated. It's just, like you said, we've never seen this before. I don't think we'll ever see it again. And he makes it look easy because he's the type of guy that doesn't get tired, it seems like. Like, he's always going 100 miles per hour. He's always playing as hard as he can. And, you know, one thing about Russell, you know you're going to get that from him night in and night out, no matter which team he's been on, the Thunder, Rockets, and now the Washington Wizards. He's always going to come ready to play. He's always going to give you 100%. And I hate the knocks that people give to him just because, you know, everything with Kevin Durant leaving and going to Golden State and choosing Steph over Russ, like, that wasn't necessarily his fault. Like, at the end of the day, Sam Presti could have kept James Harden. He decided to choose Serge Ibaka, and it all went, you know, sour then. So let's keep it real. That's where it started. And, you know, it's not Russell Westbrook's fault that, you know, sometimes coaching comes into play. And sometimes you got to tell players, hey, we got this guy, like I said with Kyrie Irving, we got this guy in Kevin Durant that might be the best player in the league. Sometimes, you know, you have to default to him. And that's one knock Russell Westbrook has throughout his career. But at the end of the day, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's a top 10 point guard of all time. If anybody's questioning that, you need to go back and look at the history of the sport. I know people want to count all those coal mining, black lung era players like Oscar Robertson. And again, I have mad respect for those guys. I'm not knocking the old school. I get it. But it was a different time. Evolution is a thing. These players are faster. They jump higher, and they're more athletic. What Russell Westbrook doing is absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, admittedly, that's what makes it so impressive. But at the same token, let's talk about some of those inefficiencies. Doesn't shoot the basketball well. The pull-up game, that mid-range jumper that seemed like he was going to have, like, nailed down, it's hit or miss. And he hasn't really been able to bring this type of tenacity during the regular season in the playoffs. My real knock against him is that Allen Iverson was able to take, and we just talked about them, a 2001 76ers team that had an old Dikembe Mutombo playing center. Larry Hughes, I think, was the only other real all-star on that team. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. And that's really about it. Westbrook, for all of the great talent that he's been surrounded, has never been able to be the guy. And I feel like he kind of just gets lost in the shuffle of what has really been a game-changing, life-changing, generational-changing crop of NBA point guards.
Right. Yeah, and that's interesting that you bring up Allen Iverson. And one thing Russell Westbrook doesn't have or hasn't had that Iverson did was a Hall of Fame head coach. Like Larry Brown, he's on my Mount Rushmore of all-time coaches in NBA history, along with Pat Riley, Phil Jackson, and Greg Popovich. So when you have that coaching, you know, on your sideline to, you know, help guide you to success, it makes life a little bit more easier, like AI had, to where Russell hasn't really had throughout his career. But you're right, Justin, you know, he's a liability in the playoffs, especially when it comes to that mid-range jumper, kind of like what I said with Ben Simmons, when teams could key in on that and take away your strengths, because in the playoffs it's a different game, then you could see guys get exposed like a Russell Westbrook and like a Ben Simmons.
Yeah, definitely. Jorge, what do you think about Russell Westbrook? Is the triple-double, does that really mean anything nowadays, or is it just like a empty stat? And yeah, it's impressive, but hey, he's still inefficient.
Well, I mean, if you look at the teams Oscar Robertson played for and the teams Russell Westbrook has played for, slip of the tongue there. But they seem to have Robertson had better teammates around him, so it made his job easier to get those triple doubles. And whereas Westbrook, it was hit and miss. Sometimes he was,
especially this year.
Especially this year. I mean, that was
Bill, he has nobody.
This year is where I'm been more impressed with Westbrook, because he's not in a particularly good team and he's still producing the numbers. Unfortunately, I think I agree with you that he's never had that coach that can utilize him the best way he has, and he's been handled wrong. I mean, like Isaiah said, he had to run for that good while at Oklahoma City, and they weren't able to. And they even had Harden in that team. So talk about super teams that could have produced a lot of stuff, and the management or the coach or whatever the situation was, they decided to break all that up, and Westbrook was the odd man out, and he went to Houston where he played with Harden again.
He still couldn't do it.
He still couldn't do it. So I don't know if this guy's snake bitten, unfortunately, but individually he's a great player. I've always been a fan.
Zay, is he the most athletic player in the NBA history? I mean, I'm including Wilt in there too, because Wilt was an athletic specimen, but is this guy, Russell Westbrook, at his 6'3", 6'4", is he the most athletic player to ever play this game?
At his height, absolutely. Obviously, there's LeBron. There was Derrick Rose before he got injured. But, yeah, I think Russell, he's got the most athletic player to ever play the game. I think that's a hard argument to, really disagree with, because he's just ridiculous.
All right, we only have a couple of minutes left, but I have to get your guys' input on this. Hall of Fame is coming up this weekend, the Basketball Hall of Fame. You see the photos there. Sean Marion rightfully should get some nod. Michael Finley, my boy Kevin Garnett, Big Timmy. But the big one, obviously is Kobe. How are you approaching this Basketball Hall of Fame announcement week, and Vanessa's going to be there. How emotional is this going to be for everybody that's watching? How much does this particular Hall of Fame induction, since MJ is going to be the one that's going to do it, mean to you as a basketball fan?
It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt a lot. I'm still affected by it. I have a Kobe poster in my apartment right now. It's tough. And one thing that I feel like MJ is gonna do well is, he knows Kobe more or better than anyone in a certain way, because that's who Kobe admired. That's who Kobe wanted to be. That's who, that's what drove Kobe, is to be like Mike, to be better than Mike, to chase his rings, to chase everything that he did. So, I think Jordan's going to do a really good job at, speaking, especially for Kobe. I think his wife, Vanessa, is going to do a great job. And, it's going to be emotional, but I think, with what we saw at the Staples Center last year when he passed, when we saw Michael Jordan speak the first time with all the other athletes and former teammates, I think this one will be a little bit more light, and to where we're going to be able to celebrate Kobe a lot more than we have.
Hall of Fame weekend.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those players, one of those people that you sort of remember where you were when you heard the news, and you didn't believe what was happening, or that you saw it on Twitter or in the sidebar or Cryon or whatever. So he left a big legacy. Arguably one of the best players of all time. So it was a no-brainer that it was going to be inducted, and like Isaiah said, it's going to be very poetic that Jordan is going to be the one that kind of introduced him, and obviously Vanessa's wife is going to be there, and it's it's unfortunate that unfortunately he's still in the news because of all these things that are happening externally because of his death and how it was handled, the investigation. I mean, it's unfortunate that all that stuff's happening because it takes away from the actual Hall of Fame ceremony that's going to happen, and I hope it happens.
It's definitely going to be emotional, and I know we're up against the wall. I can't leave on a downer note. One more thing really quick, and then I got to let everybody go. But J.Cole getting the cover of Slam magazine. He's playing in Rwanda in the African League. Can he make it to the NBA? He was recruited. No laughter. I don't know. The producer don't know who he is. Producer don't know who he is. So don't come after me. J.Cole, great music. He's a good baller, but do you think he can make it in the NBA? Real quick, both of you.
Yes, absolutely.
You think he can make it?
Yeah, he just needs a little bit of seasoning, and I think if he landing in the African National Basketball League.
I know there's money being invested.
The names are there, but I really look forward to his progress. I really do. Yeah. I think he'll be fine.
What about you, Zay? Real quick here.
No chance.
No chance for J. Cole?
No chance to make the NBA. And this goes to show how good of a rapper he is. The fact that the African team has given him a shot to go hoop. And he's not bad, but he's YMCA not bad.
Oh, okay.
We're going to have to call your dad in to give us the full analysis.
Yeah, he's like, if you saw J. Cole hooping at YMCA, you'd be like, oh, that guy's good. I want him on my team to win some games. But I wouldn't sign him for a 10-day contract if I was the Charlotte Hornets or something.
Well, when Seattle gets that expansion team and they need new fans, maybe that's when J. Cole makes it?
That album better be good.
All right, my man. We're up against the clock. I got to let you go. But everybody, Zay Collier, once again, thank you for joining me. You can follow him at Twitter at 8fat_Zay, Z-A-Y. Is that correct, Zay?
Yes, sir.
All right. And don't forget to catch him hosting on Sunday mornings with my dude, Adam Wagner, and on Bucky and Aaron throughout the week as he produces their show. Thanks again for joining me here on Club Deportes in English.
Thanks, I appreciate you guys.
Well, thanks again. So for Zay, again, Jorge Chavez joining me in studio. Thanks again. That's going to wrap it up for us here tonight from the studio. Don't forget, you can follow us at Club Deportes on Twitter. You can also find us on YouTube and on Facebook as well. So for Jorge, for Zay, and for the whole crew involved, I'm the Smash Justin Simmons. Have a good night, enjoy the weekend, and we'll see you next week.